All right, checking it out, seeing what we've got over here on the YouTubes, seeing if we are live. We'll check the audio here, and then we'll be able to leave the station. Yep, we've got audio, so we are good to go. Just waiting on CouchBot to come on through. A lot of new updates while we're waiting on the show to officially start. A lot of new updates that we're gonna have to circle back to and revisit for Figma. Not sure if you know this, but variables. I'm sorry, not variables. Variants was released last week, and this week they've released new updates for auto layout. I'm super excited to dig into that. I have not, just full disclosure, I have not dug into that as of yet. I'm spending all of my time currently over in front end writing new CSS exercises. So I will be getting back to those new Figma releases. I just have not yet because I'm kind of in the wrong spot to be doing that at this particular moment. But we will definitely take a look. And if you have any thoughts on these new updates that have been released, feel free to ping me in the comments below. If you're in the Discord channel, which is you can sign up for that over at newpragmatic.com. We can discuss all of those new updates there. We have a pretty robust conversation always ongoing there. That's where if you're a student in the program, you know this. That's where all the work that you see discussed here, it gets submitted over on Discord. So I'm pulling things up from students, and we're discussing them here on the live stream. It looks like CouchBot's fired, which is fantastic. Looks like we're 17 subscribers away from hitting another milestone. So if you are getting value out of these videos, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And otherwise, you know what? Let's go ahead and get this out of the station. And for those wondering, I always clip off the front of that when we post this later. Greetings, one and all. Chris Courtney here, New Pragmatics. Time for the feedback loop. Pretty light day in the feedback loop, especially after really the entire week has been super full with student work. Very happy, very excited. It's been probably the busiest week of the year for student work. And maybe it was yesterday. Either yesterday or Monday was the busiest day of the year. So super excited, but that's what happens when things are growing. You have new people signing up. You have new people going through different material. We're just now beginning to discuss the CSS exercises that have been released. New ones coming out today. Those will drop today. So I am super excited to see what you folks do with those. But Abby's back in here. She's going into a couple of different directions because, as you know, if you follow along on the channel, you know that students that are working through the curriculum here at New Pragmatic can move on multiple projects, multiple directions at the same time. So if you're in UX, you can also be doing UI. If you're wrapping up UI, you may have already moved on to career, or you're in a big project like Fresh Market. You may be in career, but also doing UX. So I really encourage people to, use their time effectively and efficiently. And one of the things that is so important there is being able to continue moving while you're waiting on another process to finish. For instance, when you're doing UX research, a lot of times you're waiting for a survey to come back, or you are setting up the user interview and you're waiting to sync up with that person to do the interview, or you're waiting to conduct the user test. And those things all take scheduling with other humans. And those other humans are real people, and your schedules don't always align. So you have to wait. And in that waiting time, I like to have exercises for people to work on that stretch you into other directions. There's no lost time that way. So that said, that's over at newpragmatic.com. If you're interested in the curriculum, it's all over there. If you're interested in mentorship, ping me, newpragmatic.com/mentorship, or Chris at newpragmatic.com. But let's go ahead and get this underway. We were talking in the pre-show about Figma and variants and auto layout. We're going to circle back on that, but the auto layout came out today. I think you should definitely go check that out because the good folks over there have been working on that for a while. I was talking to them back in July, and they were talking about auto layout. So they've been really pumped up about this new release coming out for a bit. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen, and you know what? We're gonna start right here with Abby's component exercise. And what I will say, if we come back over here, so this is like the home page. So Abby created a home page for her components exercise, and I think this is great because even though we're testing the flow, if you're wanting to come through and say, oh, I'm going to post this somewhere, you definitely want to make sure that like it's complete and robust. And one thing that I'm noticing here as I look through it is like it's clear that there's some misalignment here. So I want to go back through and check that. Same thing here. Like, it's pretty clear that like that doesn't quite line up. Those don't quite line up. These definitely have more space between them, which means that they don't line up here. So we've got some things to look at here, and I want to start my conversation there. I also think that like, this where recipes is starting, this should be probably a little further down. But let's go ahead and look at your actual file. And I see that you're using a grid, which is great. That's the first thing I was going to mention. I was going to are you using a grid? If you're not, let's get a grid on this. But you are using a grid, so I want to really zoom in here. And as you can see, like this isn't quite lined up. Like it's just like a notch over. And we want to be exact with this all the way through. So, moving that over, I could probably go through and make just 100 little adjustments here. Like this one, for some reason, is slightly wider. So I'm not sure if that got stretched somehow, because the component here looks to be fine. Same thing here. This is out of alignment. That's out of alignment. That's out of alignment. That's out of alignment. So I'd want to fix that. That'd be like one of the first things I would want to do. I'm looking down here. So here, this looks like it might be, it's out of alignment, and then the photo doesn't quite get there. So I would want to go through and fix that as well. Is it off over here? Yeah, they're both off over there. Here, this is interesting because I know that this shape, or I believe this shape, it is pretty close to lining up. I don't know why it wouldn't just automatically line up. But I know that you're like trying to figure out what to do with this space. If I was doing this, I would align these to give yourself one column of space to the outside, and then I would just pull all of this back in. And it looks like I'm in prototype mode, so I need to get out of prototype mode if I'm going to make these adjustments. There we go. And I would just pull all of that in, and that way you're aligned with the grid. But then you can come back through and pull these into alignment, and I think that they are just slightly off on size, and that's okay. I mean, all of that can be adjusted, but at least now it's got like even spacing to each side, and it kind of calls out attention to itself as a unit. Before it was just kind of floating over here, and I want to make sure, there you go. It was just kind of floating over here and not really aligning with anything. So I'd want to address that. Same thing here. Like, part of the reason why this looks like it's so out of alignment is because this is so off the edge of the grid. Like this, like pull it in, something like that. But I will leave that to you to sort out what you want to do. I would basically grab everything here and pull it down from the top. Because that's just too close to the top here. but again, I'll leave that in your capable hands. Same thing here. I would come through and look at the grid. It looks like everything's pretty much on target here. I realize, some of the stuff is just like, doing that, and this is a kind of a different shape. I think the auto layout may be on it. And hey, look, new auto layout version is available, so I've got to update that to get that in there. Same thing here. I just bump it over. Although that's connected with the line, so I might just leave it be. Or yeah, I'd probably leave it be, unless you want to break that component apart. Let me just come down here real quick. So here, this is just slightly out of alignment with its partner. So I would just come through and grab both of them, and then I don't want to inspect. I just want to align them to the top with each other. Okay. So real minor stuff that I would be going through and basically this is like you're getting out the finer tools. You've put away the hammer, and now you're like getting the small wrenches out and tightening this up. And the first thing I would grab is I would grab a grid and make sure everything is assigned to the grid. From there, we could go through and like page by page look this thing over, and more recipes to try. Yeah, that's the thing. In some areas, I noticed that you're dead on. It works very well. I do like the you switched this to be a color selection. So like this is a hover, and then this is a selected state. I think that works pretty well. And then you're over here at broccoli chicken Devon. It is kind of interesting. I see these other options off to the side. I'm wondering, like, is there something going on with prototype, or maybe that's just a choice you made? The interesting thing I see here is the purple. The purple feels like it's selected, and I did want to kind of go back and look at the home page, because there's an area like these are all gray, and then I'm guessing if I clicked on them they might change to purple, and then these are purple. So like the way we're using color is the purple seems to be associated with podcast. So and that's fine, but I'm looking for that consistency throughout. And if it's purple here, does that mean that these can't be because they're not podcast? I don't know. It just seems like, and also they could be purple on click. So if that was the case, what you have down here would make sense, just switching those out. But I would first focus on like grid structure stuff. I would focus on grid structure, and then I would come back and have the discussion about, okay, is this an active state, or is this purple because it's a podcast? Like, what is the logic behind that? Because honestly, that's the type of stuff I'm going to ask you when I start asking questions about your interface work. And I remember, we often wonder about this. Well, do those questions actually come up? Well, I've done some silly things with typography in the past, and I can tell you that there was a cover I did one time where I connected like a T and an I, and it was just like a giant. It felt like a giant T on the page, and the editor I was talking to, I was being interviewed for a job. He was asking, so what's the symbolism here? Why did you connect these things together? And the answer was because I thought it was a cool Photoshop trick that I could do. I didn't have any symbolism behind it, and it didn't dawn on me, and this is very early in my career, but it didn't dawn on me that when I did certain things, it called attention to those items, and people started looking for the message or the meaning in that move, and or in that display. And for you, I'd say the same thing here. It's like, okay, so why are you using purple here? that question's going to come up from somebody. Do you have an answer for it? And if you don't, then that is reason enough to go, okay, so maybe I should rethink this. And if you do, well, great. Let's hear it. Like, lay it out there. But by and large, it's a very nice prototype. I still love the fact that you went through and you did the literal automated typing out of the word chicken. Like, you hit the thing and it goes tick 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 tick. That's super clever. But now I want us to be thinking about, okay, so how are we using color? Is this aligned with the grid and moving forward? Because otherwise you've gotten to the point where your interactions are nice. Now let's do the fine tuning. Okay. From there, you also have a survey, and this is what I mean by people in the program can move in multiple directions at the same time. Abby is wrapping up components, the component exercise, but she's also knee-deep in the middle of Fresh Market, which is the larger food project. And it says, how do meal subscriptions play a role in your lifestyle? You were asking, should I make that a question? And the answer is, you could, okay? You could also just say meal subscription survey. This survey is a study. This survey is to study how people use meal subscription services and why they use them, or I would say and why they. Well, I guess that's fine. And the first question here is meal subscription services, and I'm going to say yes, I do. And then we move over. The next thing I want to look at here is like untitled section. I need to give some reference point for this. So if being that I said yes, I do subscribe to these, I might say subscriber questions. And that like gives me context of, oh, these are questions that I'm only asking a subscriber. So how often do you order your meals? Bi-weekly? What kind of meals do you get? Heat and eat. Subscription, I'll say that. I might I think it's fine. Which of the ones have you used? You're looking for an idea of, one of the things that's great about this question is if you have somebody who's only used Blue Apron, and you've had somebody else who has used like 7 of these things and one of them's an other, you might pull in the person who's done a lot of them because they've probably got a richer experience. How do you order your meals? Website, app. Why do you use meal subscriptions? I'm just going to type some stuff in there. What issues have you run into with these subscription services? I would rephrase this and ask, have you run into, well, I don't know. The answer here, what issues have you run into with these subscription services, implies that the person has had a problem, okay? And it begins to shade it negatively. I wonder if this isn't a, have you had any of the following issues? And it's like, you pre-select. You have some options there, and then maybe you have another. Or you ask, have you had any issues with your meal subscription service? Yes, no. And then if no, can you please describe? That makes it less negative. And I realize that like, well, crap, Chris, now I have to have another section in case they say no. I've got to bounce them out of this. And then what do you wish subscriptions offered alongside the meals? This implies that it's incomplete. So this might be a situation where you could rephrase the question to say something along the lines of, are there any options you would like to see offered with your meal subscription with a meal with meal subscription plans. Um, and that would be, you could predefine a few things, but then that if you predefined a few things, that's kind of steering them toward those things. Like, of course, they're all going to say, I want free meals. If free meals is listed as an option, who's not going to say that? So I do think keeping it as an open answer is smart, but I would try to shade it less like it's incomplete and more like, is there something you want this to also offer? And then the final piece here that, and you're gonna have to clear some answers out because I'm just gonna enter some stuff here. If you say, okay, this is an ongoing research project, would you like to be further involved? I'm gonna say yes, okay, and then I'm gonna submit. And oh crap, you didn't grab my email address. Like, I haven't given you my email address. I said I want to be involved, but I haven't given you the email. So it needs to go to another screen that says, oh, that's great. Thank you so much for saying you want to participate. Now can I have your email address? So let's go the other way. Let's go, we've talked about all this. Do I use meals? Let's say no, okay? Notice that this describing your lifestyle question isn't actually part of the other flow, which would be helpful. This is a helpful question for both. So I would change the order, and I would say, are there any particular reasons why you haven't tried a meal subscription service, or you do not use? Let's leave this page and go back. Do you use meal subscription services? No. This is implying that they haven't tried a service. I could easily say, I don't use meal subscription services, but I have used them in the past. So this question should be, is there a particular reason why you haven't tried meal subscription services or are not currently using a meal subscription service? And then, they give you your answer. And then I would encourage you to kick, and again, you've got this untitled section, so this would be non-subscriber questions. Then I would, after they answer this, I would kick them over to a section about user profile that says, describe your lifestyle, working a parent. And I would do this for both sides of this, both for the people that have subscribed and have not subscribed. So it's another section. And then the same thing down here with this. This is an ongoing research project. Would you like to be involved in further rounds of research, not or research, of research? And then if they say yes, or if they say yes, like, I still need to collect that email. Okay. So there's a few things missing here. And it's hard to see what's missing when it's just like one list of questions. Now that we can kind of see, and you've broken it into sections, it's a lot easier to see what the missing parts are. But I would encourage you to, one, look at the questions that shade negative or shade incomplete and reword those. Two, get this describe your lifestyle profile thing at the back end of both. Three, add the ability to collect their email if they say yes, because the whole point of this exercise is to build up a cohort. This is basically a screener survey, okay? You're screening people to see if they fit into the profile of people, if they fit the profile of what you need in your research cohort, so that you can have a bank of people to go back to and talk to. So do those things, and then I think you can ship this. And this is a great time to be doing this, because everybody's thinking Thanksgiving, and they're thinking food, and they're thinking delivery, and like, get this out there. This is the perfect time to release this survey right now. So between that and the cleanup of components, I think you've got a busy day or two ahead of you. And as I said, that's, it's pretty light load today. We've been fairly heavy all week. Katie turned in her About Me profile yesterday, I think, or maybe it was in the overnight. Eddie did his recording as well, and some of the stuff we're reviewing offline. But just know that I've been super, super impressed this week by the amount of work that everybody's doing. It's pretty clear everybody's gearing up for the holidays and getting ready to make that move on to Thanksgiving, and then right after that, the Christmas, Jewish, Hanukkah, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, all the really true winter holidays. So everybody's like ramping up, ready to take that break. So I see a lot of work coming through, and that's going to do it for today's edition of the Feedback Loop. If you like this and you're not currently a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. If you're looking for mentorship, come talk to me over at newpragmatic.com. And otherwise, I look forward to seeing some of you later today, and the rest of you, I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Take care.